What's going on, fight fans? Welcome back to another edition of the show. Today I'm bringing you your full card prediction and best bets for UFC 328 this Saturday at the Newark Center in Newark, New Jersey. Should be a great one here. But before we get started, let's talk a little bit about last week's event at Perth for Fight Night. I wish I would have done a post-show analysis because there was so much to go off of. Of course, the main event and the co-main event went exactly like I told you it would go. And most fights did for the most part. I think we went 8-5, if I'm not mistaken, on best bets and on the betting break, the best fight breakdown, which is odd because I usually do a lot better on the best bets, but unusual circumstances led to, an 8-5, which is not bad for both, but very rarely will that happen. But yeah, found out a lot, man. Found out a lot. I knew Carlos Prates was too much for JDM, and he showed it. He came out. He was game. Yeah, Sal killed. There was no match for Benil Dariush. And yeah, man, Tai Tuivasa, which he got taken down, but he showed some. He showed he's been working on his ground game, but it's just still not enough. If he can't defend a takedown, there's a clear path to victory for Tyler, and that's 7 in a row. I don't know what they're gonna do with him, but it was a pretty good card overall. We found out a lot. There was a lot to go off, but that was last week. Got to move forward. Here it is, UFC 328, the long-awaited. It's gonna be a good week. Let's get it kicked off with the first fight. Clay Carpenter versus Jose Ochoa. Clay Carpenter, he's pretty good, man. He's 8-2. He's 2-2 in the UFC. He's ran through the lower competition. But yeah, he's lost his last two. Because it's better competition. Like most guys, when you get moved up the rankings and start fighting better fighters, some guys are just not as well as prepared, But he has improved. Hopefully, he has improved, in the last 7 months or so. Cause yeah, he's fighting this guy Ochoa. He's only 25, but he's no joke. I really like everything that Jose Ochoa brings to the table. He's a shooter box guy, so he comes from a good gym, good training partners over there. 1-2 in the UFC, but hasn't been finished, and all three fights have been very well contested. He's a very exciting fighter. Ochoa is high pace, brings the action. This should be a good card to start off the early prelims. Let me tell you, it all points to an early finish here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ochoa here by sub. I'm gonna go with Ochoa sub just because both guys are gonna engage and Ochoa, he's shooter box and he's been trying crazy attempts before, and this is a place where I think I feel he can really lock it in. So, give me Ochoa by sub and give me Ochoa on the money line as the best bet for this. Because even if it goes the distance, I still see him taking it. So yeah, Ochoa on the money line is the best bet, and I'm taking him to win by sub. All right, next fight, Bison Core Chimaev versus Jordan Santos. Oh man, not to glaze this guy, but I got very high hopes for Bison Gore. This guy's been training with Kamzat since for years now. He's a straight savage, man. Straight savage. UFC debut. I think he took it off 1 week's notice after coming off of a fight. This guy just doesn't care, bro. He brings it to the table. He's 11-0. I haven't looked at the. He should be probably minus 1,000, or he probably will be on Saturday night before this fight. On the betting line, so they're feeding him now. Jordan Santos, a Brazilian that's not a grappler. 1-1 in the UFC. Yeah. I don't see it the Jordan Santos giving this guy much competition. So yeah, give me Bison Gore on the money line as the best bet, and my prediction is first round KO. This guy's hungry. He hasn't fought in a while. He's very good. He's gonna go out there and try to knock the Jordan's head off. But if D Jordan can grapple a little bit and make it interesting game, it could go the distance. So that's why I'm just putting Bison Gore as the best bet for the money line here. All right, next we got Pat Sabatini versus William Gomes in the featherweight division. William Gomes is very decent, man. 15-3. His only loss was to Emil by decision. That was pretty close. So he does have the height advantage here and the reach. So that's on his side. So if he can get the footwork going. Only problem with Gomes is the gas tank. As the fight goes on, it's gonna favor Sabatini a lot. With his wrestling background and jiu-jitsu and where he trains, gas tank is completely opposite here. So the longer the fight goes, the worse it is for Gomes. And Pat Sabatini also, this is his 27th pro fight. So he has more wins than Gomes has fights overall. So the experience is definitely on his side. He's 4-1 in his last 5. Only loss was to Diego Lopez, which, Diego's probably ranked in the top 5. So, there's no shame in that. I've been fading Pat Sabatini the last 2 fights, and it hasn't gone good for me. So, Gomes is gonna have his early flashes. If he can install that jab and use his quickness, I think that'll keep him in the fight. But as Pat's gonna take him down eventually. I think he's gonna get him and he's gonna wear on him. And after a round and a half, we'll start seeing a different William Gomes, and that's how I see this fight going. I mean, I think Pat Sabatini can establish his game plan a little better than William Gomes, and that's why I'm taking Pat to win by decision. By decision, unless he really, really wears on him and gets a late sub if Gomes starts to fade and just gives up. But yeah, I say he's gonna go the distance, and Pat Sabatini will eventually look better, more fresh the second half of the fight and get the win. But the best bet here is that it reaches round 2. I don't see any of these fighters. I think it's gonna be a long fight, so best bet is that it reaches round 2 here. All right, next we got Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio to end the early prelims. 14-5. This Roman Kopylov is an interesting guy. So he's 14-5. He's very durable from what I've seen. He looks great until he faces high level fighters. The last two that he's lost to, RoboCop and Costa, both by decision though. Those are his only 2 losses there. His last 2, in the UFC. Besides that, he's beating everybody else, so he's quite competitive. And even though he lost to those 2 guys, he didn't get finished. So, the guy's a typical Russian, very durable. He goes out there. He's like a bigger Piotr Yan. And then now he's facing Marco Tulio, who's 14-2 but 2-1 in the UFC. Last fight he KO'd Chris Duncan. That's very impressive on his end. But what I've seen is the lateral movement frustrates him. If you can move lateral, just don't stay stationary in front of Tulio. And Roman Kopylov just might do that because he's these two guys they're gonna go at it. None of them, I don't see any of them really inserting themselves into the top 15, but they're both fun fighters. Should be good. You know, luckily for him, Kopylov is that. He's a guy that's not gonna move around and use his footwork too much. It's gonna be power versus precision here. They're both gonna come forward, so I expect fireworks here. Um, yeah, it's an absolute great way to end the early prelims. Like I said, both guys are dangerous. Uh, yeah, it's gonna be a quick war, most probably. I say the best bet here is that this fight does not go the distance because both guys come forward, both guys don't move around a lot, so um, it's gonna be it's a 15-minute war or somebody's gonna get caught and night will come sooner. But yeah, I say yeah. So the best bet is that it won't go the distance, and give me they're both 6 feet, but Kopylov has a half inch in reach, and this guy's just very dangerous, man. So give me Kopylov, by TKO here. That's my bet for the fight. All right, next we got Jim Miller and Jared Flash Gordon. Damn, Jim Miller's making his 58th appearance, ladies and gentlemen. 58 professional fight. He's done it all. He's seen it all. He's been through it all. This guy's been fighting for decades. He's 41, tender age of 41, and ever so dangerous, especially grappling. If that's his specialty. Both guys don't get finished a lot. Jared Gordon, I'm not happy. Not happy with the money he lost me on his last performance. I believe he was compromised. He had gotten hit by a car right before the weigh-ins or so, and he still fought. Give him kudos for that. He still fought. He stuck it out there, but it was an easy TKO there because he was compromised. Guy was on one leg, and yeah, they should have taken that fight off. It's complete BS. But yeah, he's a decent fighter when he's not hurt. He arguably beat Patty by decision. Of course, Patty won, but most people say Jared won. I think it was pretty close. Yeah, but he's a little younger here. He's fresher. I don't think he's gonna test Jim Miller's ground game too much. I think he's a smart fighter and he'll stay out of the crazy headlocks and jiu-jitsu stuff that Jim can catch him on. Of course, Jim's very savvy. He's a savvy veteran. He can always catch him. But I think Jerry Gordon, will do enough to stay away, stay out of his traps, and it'll be a Jerry Gordon decision here. All right, but the best bet is that it does reach round 2 at least, because I see his fight going long distance. Next, we got Grant Dawson versus Mateusz Rebecki. Oh, man. Rebecki, Polish guy, trains at ATT. Hasn't looked so good lately. His last 2 losses, I think his last 2 fights he's lost both. He's 1-3 in his last 3 fights. He's kind of, if you look at his career path, he's trending on the downwards part. He might want to pick it up here with a win. Gonna need it very much, but I don't know why they keep feeding this guy teammates. They must know his teammates might. He probably doesn't look so good in the gym. They know something about him, but they keep taking fights against him. He lost to Duncan in a war. His last fight before Ludovic Klein. That was an absolute war, man. That was a really good fight. I knew Duncan was gonna win. And yeah, now he's fighting Grant Dawson, another teammate with a 3-inch height advantage this time, 6-inch reach. Nah, that's pretty big. 6-inch reach is massive. You know, if he took this fight, it's because he must know something. You know, he must not see Mr. Rebecki as a threat to him. Maybe they sparred before, and he's like, you know, this guy's range, he can't get close to me. But yeah, Dawson's weakness is boxers. You know, boxers just guys that go out there and bang. You know, he did lose to Manuel El Loco Torres, King Green. You know, those are guys that just go out there with awkward styles and they just box straight up, which Mateus Rebecki is probably not gonna do. So yeah. So yeah, give me Dawson by decision here. I mean, they both know each other well. They train at the same gym, so more than likely this is gonna go the distance. So give me Dawson by decision just because he has all that reach. And the best bet is that this fight reaches round 2, at least. I don't see this being a first round, or I see it going a round and a half for sure, at least. So give me round 2 at least. This fight to reach round 2. Okay, next, Joel Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amosov. This is a pretty good fight, man. They finally gave this guy a test, a ranked fighter at that. You know, he has four straight wins. You know, his last L was probably like 4 years ago. You know, to Arman Sarukian of all people. So that's not a bad loss whatsoever. If you're losing to Arman, everybody does except, you know, the champ. But yeah, man, he's very, very long and rangy for the welterweight division. He's you know, his all-around game is good. He has a 2-inch height and reach advantage here, which I really like. But Yaroslav, this guy's 29-1. Only one fight in the UFC, but that fight was very impressive. You know, to come in there and sub out a veteran like Neil Magny. Neil Magny's not that great. You know, he's a gatekeeper and all, but you know, the guy is very experienced, and just to come here and sub him in round 1 is impressive. You know, usually Neil Magny fights go the distance or pretty late. So for this guy to just come in here last year and just ragdoll Magny, that was very impressive to me. So yeah, this fight has the makings of it could be fight of the night. This is two very good fighters on the up and coming. Both very impressive wins against vets, very good vets in their last fight. Because Joel just ragdolled Vicente Luque. Yeah, should have got the finish, but I forgot what happened in that fight. Some referee messed up, and I think Luque had tapped, and he didn't see it, or something of that nature happened where they allowed the fight to go on, and it ended up being a decision. But I feel bad because it should have been a finish for Joel Alvarez. He clearly won. He clearly finished Vicente Luque, and I think that's why Luque left the welterweight division. He just didn't feel like he belonged there anymore. But that's neither here nor there. This is about Joel versus Yaroslav. And yeah, the best bet here is that it at least reaches for round 2. I think both guys are going to feel each other out a little bit first round. And then they're going to get to business. But give me Yaroslav to win here by late sub or decision. This guy has such a good submission game that I could see this fight going down to the ground and him doing like some kind of reversal and catching Joel in a compromised position and submitting him. But that's what I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a late third submission. But just to be safe, you might want to use him on the money line. and not get crazy with the submission. All right. But I'm saying that Yaroslav's going to win by submission, and the best bet again is that it at least reaches round two. All right. Next fight we've got Esteban Gautier versus Ozzy Diaz. Uh Man, they just keep they keep why does the USC keep feeding this guy cans, man? This is like it's like WWE when it's not like a WrestleMania when they just fight during the week like on Raw or whatever, and the wrestlers that they get fed these jabronis to just come up here and just this is what this feels like. This is exactly what it feels like. Um, yeah, he should be well over a thousand favorite on Saturday night. Um, yeah, I mean if you want to feel brave and lay money on Diaz, and he pulls out the upset, this could be excellent for you. But yeah, no, this is another UFC kickback. They're just handing this guy a table Gautier guys, and he's landing. He's making performances, getting bonuses, and yeah, somebody up there is getting their kickback. One of the matchmakers definitely has deals with these guys. I think. Either that, I don't know. Maybe it's just nobody wants to fight this guy, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Guy looks like a monster. Um, Ozzy Diaz is not bad though. I mean, he's 10-3. That's a good record. He got KO'd by Ming Yang, but he beat Santos in his UFC debut. So I don't know. He does definitely has a shot. This is MMA. Anything can happen. But yeah, this is not even close to his style. I mean, if your girl and kids don't like gore, you might not want to let them watch this. You know, might want to turn the TV to yourself during this fight because it's gonna be a highlight reel. It's gonna be a highlight reel. First round KO by Teba Gutierrez. This is gonna come in here. He's gonna put on a show. It's gonna be a quick one. All right. So the best bet is Teba Gutierrez on the money line, just in case Ozzy Diaz takes him down and makes it interesting and drags it on for 15 minutes. But I just don't see him putting on enough to come out with a win here. So best bet is Atiba on the money line, and my prediction is first round KO. That's it for the prelims, guys. That's it for the prelims. And next we got the all-star studded main card for UFC 328. We're going to start off with King Green versus Jeremy Stevens. Oh boy. King Green is fun, man. Always game. I love his style, man. I love his fighting style. It's been through a lot of matches in the UFC. He's 34-17-1 overall. So, he's game. He's seen a lot. He's trained with different people. He's had a lot of fights, had a lot of wars. The thing with King Green that sticks out to me is that he loses to above average fighters. So if you're an above average fighter, if you're really decent in the UFC, if you have awesome wrestling, great jiu-jitsu, you train good with a good camp, you're probably gonna beat King Green. But I don't think Jeremy Stevens is there, ladies and gentlemen. He hasn't won the UFC since 2018. He stepped out to do bare knuckle, which is not the same. It's not the same at all. Yeah, it's a rougher sport, but he stepped in last year, short notice, had a pretty good fight, but then kind of gassed out towards the end. Yeah, he saved the UFC, so I think they're handing him now. This is their thank you for stepping up, and I forgot who he filled in for. But uh, but he gassed out. That wasn't a good look. The Jeremy stint in bare knuckle, I don't think it did him justice. Both of these guys are vets. Both of these guys have a ton of experience. They don't back down. They're both gonna come forward, so it's gonna be very interesting. But at this point, I just can't trust Jeremy Stevens' gas tank. Um, yeah, so give me King Green by late sub here. Um, yeah, if he weathers the storm, the early storm of Jeremy Stevens, he could have a clear advantage towards the end of the fight, and that's what I'm gonna bank on. So give me Green by late sub, but Jeremy can win. He can win if he catches him early. King Green does fight with his hands down, and Jeremy loves to throw bombs, so he could catch him early. But yeah, the best bet for this will be that this fight does not go the distance. Both guys are going to come to finish and get that bonus. And I think somebody's going to get it. All right, next we got Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley isn't as big as Morales, which he just was the last guy to finish Brady not too long ago. But he is just as powerful. He was on a roll. He was on a roll, beating everybody until he got schooled by Usman. Which is that's definitely he's been fighting regular guys, and then you give him a guy with the background that Usman has. He's wrestling since college. Not a submission threat, but definitely looks to wrestle and just take his opponent down and hold. He was just outmatched and outclassed. Yeah, I mean, but he showed that he's been training with him ever since. So I mean, he wants to learn. He's ever growing. But yeah, I mean, Sean Brady here is more well rounded, and just like Usman, man, he uses wrestling heavy. He's a heavy wrestler. So I mean, how much has Joaquin Buckley picked up in these last few months? I don't think it's gonna be enough. I just don't. Sean's really good. He subbed Edwards. He subbed Leon Edwards. Who does that? Uh, yeah, he hasn't fought in about a year. Buckley has, but he's been working on the training, with different people, including Usman, like I said. So, Brady needs to come and just stick to his game plan, and just use his wrestling. See what Joaquin can do. See what he's learned. See if he can match his pace. Buckley will be better, but I don't think he's there yet. I think he needs a little bit more time because Sean Brady is very disciplined, and we'll see. We'll see if he can stop the takedowns and discourage him and turn it into a fight. But I just don't see that happening for the most part. So give me Brady to win here by decision. And the best bet is that this fight reaches at least round 2. All right, next we got the big boys in our featured fight of the night. Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. Alex Volkov is 39-11. Waldo Cortez is 17-2. Percentages favor Waldo Cortez Acosta, but the experience is on the side of Volkov for sure. So what's he gonna do? Are we gonna go with experience or are we gonna go with the hot hand? Yeah. Volkov, besides experience, he also has a 3-inch height and a 2-inch reach advantage, which I really like here. Since Acosta is more like a boxer type, he looks to strike. He's not gonna look to wrestle or anything like that. He does have kicks, which he's gonna want to throw down some kicks here to slow Alexander down. But yeah, man, Volkov's fought a lot of high level guys. You know, he got robbed last time against Cyril Gane when he fought Cyril Gane a couple years ago. I think he won that fight. I think he got hosed, but whatever. That's just my opinion. Doesn't matter. But it was a decent fight. You know, went the distance. And Cyril Gane is good, man. He moves around a lot. Uh, yeah. Waldo's really good. He's never been finished in the UFC. He has a 3-fight win streak. Um, he's beat some impressive guys. He's really good. These are two big boys with something to prove. You know, Alexander wants to prove that he's still there. He is ranked number 2, so you know he's always one potential good performance away from the title or two. And Walter Cortez is just climbing the ranks. So you know both guys have a lot to prove here. Uh, I'm gonna go against the odds here. You know, I think Alex will test Waldo. He's gonna test his ground game. He's gonna test his ground game and he's gonna sub him. That's what I say is gonna happen. Of course, it could always go the distance, but I think nobody's tested uh, WCA's ground game yet. I don't think anybody's taking him down and seeing what he has. And Alexander has jiu-jitsu up his sleeve. He could use it. It's always there. He just doesn't do it, doesn't do it often, but it's there. And so since he has that aspect and we haven't seen it in Cortez, just for that, I'm gonna go with Volkov. I'm gonna go with Volkov by decision. I'm gonna go decision. He's not gonna get the sub, but I would like to see him attempt some subs here just to see what Waldo's all about on the ground. So yeah, just to be safe, I'll take Alexander Volkov by decision here. Um, and the best bet here is that this fight at least reaches round 2. Yeah, yeah. Both guys usually fight into the late round. So yeah, give me that it at least reaches round 2 and give me Volkov by decision here. All right, co-main event: Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira. Flyweight bout was supposed to take place at UFC 327, and one of these guys got hurt, so they moved it up to 328. Both guys are the future of the featherweight division. What can I say? You got a 26-year-old and a 24-year-old. Very impressive, very high pace. Really like this fight because both of them can win either way. They're very well rounded. Josh is only 9-1 in the UFC. Very impressive. He stays very active. Not to say paper champ, but we do know what happened, how he got the belt. I don't like the way he was celebrating when he won. About his family up. I get it. Your family is there and all, but just take the humble win and don't over celebrate like he did. It just doesn't give you a good look. But yeah, he's young. He's young, and not to pick on him. He won. He won fair and square. The ex-champ got hurt, so he ended up being the champ that night. But it's nothing to write home about. Nothing to be all excited. And now he's fighting a guy in Tatsuro Taira, who's very good and very well rounded. Has great submission skills. He's quick, man. This guy's lightning quick. Both of these guys are quick, but Tatsuro Taira's special. He's special, man. And I just think he's better. He's better on the ground and overall. And I don't think we've seen much of what he can do. As I look at his history in the UFC, he only lost to Royval in that decision, and I think it was his first main event, and he just ran out of gas because of the emotions and wasn't ready for the big time. But now this is it, man. That was like a year and a half ago. I hope he's trained and he's ready now. He I faded him in the last fight against Moreno, and he proved me wrong. He came out, and Moreno's really good, man. Moreno's an ex-champ, 2 time. So just to do what he did to him, and what he did to Park, the fight before, it's very impressive. He's 18-1. He called himself the best, and we're gonna see if he's the best. I believe so. At least in this fight, I believe he's better. So, um, the best bet here is that this fight's gonna at least reach round two. Um, because I do see it going at least a couple, 2 or 3 rounds. So yeah, give me the best bet is that it reaches round two, and I'm gonna take the safe route and say Tatsuro Taira wins here by decision and new. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't liked and subscribed, feel free to, please. I invite you on this journey with me. My content's only getting better. And yeah, I encourage you to use me to make some money and enjoy yourself. All right, so now we got the middleweight title main event of the evening. Of course, we got Sean Strickland, the challenger, versus Khamzat Chimaev, the champ. And yeah, oh man, this is they're hyping this one up. We're gonna need a boatload of security. We got on one side, we got sheep banging comments. On the other side, we got domestic violence and childhood domestic issues from Khamzat to Strickland, and we're gonna have a lot of bad talk here, a lot of bad blood. Uh, these two guys apparently don't like each other very well. The problem with these fights is most of the time when it's overhyped like this, the two guys that really hate each other, sometimes when it's like this, it turns up to be a very boring fight. Not always. I mean, and I don't think these two guys will do that, but it has happened. I remember when it was Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. That was oh man, pushing and shoving during the weight show, the weigh-in show, and it was just very hostile all week. And then the fight started, and it was probably the worst heavyweight fight I've ever seen. I think it was like 12 punches thrown between both guys, and a lot of swinging and missing, and just air, and you could hear the crowd just woo, and people just making noises. And not to say, I mean, I hope this is not like this, but don't be surprised if it is. Don't be surprised if I mean, I hope not. I hope I'm just saying this so it won't happen, because I would hate for all for all this to happen, and there's a lot of commotion within the next 2 days, and the weigh-in, and they gotta be separated and all, and then the fight comes and it's a boring fight. I really hope not. We know what Khamzat's plan is just to take him down. We know what Strickland's plan is to not get taken down, and frustrate Khamzat and just get him on the feet and make it a war. And Khamzat knows that, so I don't think he's gonna be as aggressive as he was with DDP at the takedowns, just because Sean Strickland's takedown defense is so much better. Um, yeah, he has a 70s. His takedown defense is somewhere in the high 70s. So I think Kamza's gonna pick and choose his spots when to do it, and he's great at that. That's one thing that Kamza is great at, is picking when to take you down. Um, And that's what he does. He takes you down and wear on you, and he's gonna go for submissions if it's there. But if it's not, he's gonna be very careful. And that's one thing that's really good that Kamsa does really good is that he keeps his hips up and he stays above your opponent. So you're not hardly ever are you gonna ever see anybody reverse rules on Kamsa, especially when you're on the ground. This guy's very dangerous, and Sean Strickland knows that, and he's not gonna want to stay on the ground if he gets taken down. So this is a tough one, man. Kamsa's undefeated. Sean Strickland's 30-7. Whenever you think he's gonna win, he loses, and when you think he's gonna lose, he wins. He lost two to DDP. Of course, the first one was really, really close. It could have gone either way. And we saw what Kamsa did to DDP. He just, he outclassed him for 5 rounds. Pretty boring, but he got the win and he clearly won. So, yeah. And Sean knows. So if Sean knows his game plan, and we all know Sean's game plan, this is just interesting to see what's going to happen. And everybody just wants to know what's going to happen on Saturday night. Is he going to take him down? And if he doesn't, how's he going to look fighting for 25 minutes? Because, the only time that Kamsa has faced adversity was against Usman, a heavy wrestling background, and he took Usman down. But yeah, he kept making a lot of attempts to take Usman down, and he did. But towards the end of that fight, the tides were turning, and if it was 2 more rounds, anything could have happened. The momentum was definitely going towards Usman's way. It would have been interesting if it was a 5-round fight. And then when he fought Gilbert Burns, Gilbert looked impressive towards the end of the fight. He was coming on. So, and Kamsa knows that he's not gonna wanna slow down and look like he lost energy if the fight reaches the later rounds against Sean, because then that will be catastrophic for him. We never know what could happen there. Yeah, this is interesting, man. This is interesting because Sean, he beat Fluffy. He beat Fluffy, and that's very impressive. I didn't see that happening. I really thought Fluffy. That's one of the recent main events that I remember being totally wrong about. It's impressive, man. Impressive to get that 3rd round KO, and he just looked great against a guy that was just steamrolling everybody. And Fluffy's game is a lot like Kamsa Chimaev. They have really, really similar styles. I think Kamsa's more aggressive. I think Fluffy definitely has a better gas tank, but being that there's bad blood here, real bad blood in this one, it makes things interesting, yeah. What's interesting also is that Sean Strickland's been 12 years in the UFC and only involved in 1 sub. So he's never been subbed. And actually his first fight in the UFC, he won by submission. But other than that, he hasn't been subbed, or he hasn't subbed anybody. So I don't know. Kamsa has the 1-inch height advantage, but Sean Strickland has the 1-inch reach advantage. Damn, this is very interesting. Kamsa's 32. And Strickland is 35, so he's a little older. They have trained together for a little while when Kamsa was in LA, Las Vegas. So, yeah, man, this is all about who can impose their game plan better, who has the more will. Kamsa's a heavy favorite, I guess, because of his recent fights. But if there's any guy to stop the takedown pressure, it is Sean Strickland. And if he does, things are going to be interesting. And that's what everybody's hoping for. But, it's hard to bet on that. Just because of the way Kamsa has been recently. You know what he did to Whitaker. You know, he took him down and broke his jaw, and with that tight pressure. So, just so he did what he did to DDP. He outclassed him for 5 rounds. And the list goes on and on. There's this guy, but he's only faced adversity twice, so we don't know if he faces adversity versus Strickland, especially in the later rounds. How's he gonna look? How's he gonna react if he can't get him out to the ground in the late rounds? It's a lot of questions here. It's a lot of questions that we are gonna find out on May 9th. Um, yeah, I'm gonna. The best bet here is that this fight reaches round two. I don't see this guy comes out coming in here and just taking Strickland out. And Strickland could always pull a Masvidal and knee him, but I think Chimaev will be ready for everything, and so will Strickland. And for that, the best bet is that this fight will at least reach round two. And this is really tough. I can't decide with one guy or another. I see both. I see reasons why both guys can win, and reasons why both guys can lose. And so for that, folks, my bet for this fight is a majority draw. I can't just decide. Something tells me that Khamzat's just going to come out here and do what he does. But then something inside of me is telling me that Strickland's super ready, and he's not just talking all this nonsense for no reason. He's talking a lot of crap. He's been talking a lot of crap for weeks, and I think he's going to come really ready like he always does. With his coach Eric Nixick. Eric Nixick knows Khamzat very well, so I think they're prepared. You got number 3 versus the champ, and yeah, I'm gonna say this is a majority draw. That's my decision here. All right, guys, feel free to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree with me. Let me know if you agree with me. All that is welcome, and have yourselves a great weekend. Enjoy the fights. See you next time.